Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. We fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor.
On this episode of Cigars and Sea Stories, Bennett and Mike are sitting down to talk about what makes a good lieutenant. I say that almost questioningly. We got a question here from a Mr. Tyler Hoover, who asked us specifically about OCS. And let me pull it up on here. But he asked us what makes a good lieutenant, at least from our NCO perspective.
Because neither of us have been to OCS, but we have taught many a officer how to do stuff.
Yeah,
I know you have. That's what I'm saying. You were a marksmanship instructor at was it at OCS or just at Quantico?
No, so it was at Weapons Training Battalion, and Weapons Training Battalion is on one side, and the basic school is on the other side, and then OCS is on the whole different side of the base, on the other side of the highway.
Oh, okay. All right then.
But I mean, I have physically been to OCS to see everything. They have a thing called a confidence course, a leadership course that's over there. They've got like I basically call it like a mental exercise course, but it definitely involves teamwork. I think a lot of people don't understand that officer candidate or OCS is like, they're selecting you based upon your ability to follow and lead within a peer group so that you can work together as a team. And they want that because then they can train how to do all of the other things. But if you're an arrogant fuck, you're out of there. And then if you're like, I don't know what to do, you're definitely out of there.
Right.
So,
yeah, I never really dealt with OCS with the Marine Corps. But I did deal with plenty of cadidiots at the U.S. Military Academy. Cadidiots. That was our loving, whatever. People give me shit for that, but we did call them that. And at the end of the day, when you're first or second year cadidiots, you don't know a whole lot about anything. So, even less than lieutenants. So, so there you go.
Because they're in college.
Yeah, they're horrible. So, I mean, they're not horrible. They're good. They're mainly good kids, which are boots. They're just really boots. So, I spent an entire summer at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point teaching cadets and ROTC folks how to fire an AT-4. And then...
on a trainer? The 9mm?
Yeah, on a trainer, and then every day one of them got to fire live.
Right. Thank God you weren't doing SMAWs. Jesus.
Yeah, no shit. So did that, and then also during their Robin Sage whatever exercise, like their final culmination of their training for the summer, I was the instructor on rope bridges and amphibious. The only amphibious freaking thing that they did, because I'm the only one that had any experience with a rubber boat.
Right.
So they had to basically like row a rubber boat across a lake, right? So I had to teach them the ins and outs of lifting and carrying of Zodiac, and then, blah, 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 that bullshit. So I was the only one that knew anything about anything with that, because I was a recon Marine in the Army. So, there were some really funny things that happened that summer dealing with all these guys.
Right.
That was wow. Fucking wow. That's all I have to say.
Dear God.
And what's his name? Tyler Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically asked what makes a good lieutenant, because he's getting ready to go to OCS, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun.
So, Tyler, my biggest thing before you become an officer in general is to please cultivate a sense of humor and a personality. Because if you don't have one when you come in, you're not going to have one. Definitely. They're not going to create one, and you'll never have one unless you have it before you go there. Because it's just the way it is. And a lot of times officers have a tendency of being a little like having a pole shoved right up their ass. So don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. That's my biggest advice. I have more, but right off the bat, that's my biggest advice.
Right.
Humble yourself, my friend.
Well, the biggest thing that folks completely miss is, great, you graduated OCS, that doesn't really matter. Now you have to go to TBS, and that is the basic school. And then depending on your MOS, you're going to wind up going to officer.
Another school, right?
Right. So like all of our officers had to go through OCS, TBS, IOC, which is a kick in the dick. And then they had to be a line company officer first, and basically picked out of the line company pool to become a weapons company officer. So I mean, you had to cross a couple of hurdles before you could be a weapons company officer in 3-7. So, and I definitely learned that when I was in the fleet the first go around, and can see it because my first platoon commander was prior enlisted. He was a sergeant before he crossed over to the dark side. He was 0311, working scouts and LAVs, and then became an officer. He went on MESEP and was like, fuck man, I don't want to come back. Came back like a staff looking at gunny, and then pinned on first lieutenant, I want to say it was.
Yeah.
And he was a first lieutenant with us who got pinned captain and pinned me lance corporal on deployment, because you know how that is. Your officer gets the first three. And he was an awesome guy. He was just a badass dude who wound up going MSG duty, and it's not deck commander, that's staff NCO, but I can't remember what it is. He was bouncing around the regions and stuff like that, and I actually bumped into him when I was an instructor. I was a sergeant at the time, and he was walking one way and I was walking the other way, and I was like, Major, and I won't use his name because he went super secret squirrel, but I was like, whoa, you're a major. He's like, you're a sergeant. Good fucking work, man. And anyway, it was one of those. I saw him, and I also saw my company commander, which was just fucking nuts, who was then a lieutenant colonel. And I was just like, this is crazy. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's some officers that I served with that I have relationships with now outside, and so funny, man. Just completely different. You know what I mean?
Right.
But a lot of the guys, and it's funny, we always say, the best officers were usually enlisted first. And frankly, it's true. I mean, not always. It's not the rule, but it's the, most of the time it's so totally true.
Right.
So, because then they learn how to follow. Frankly, I think it's because they learn how to follow, as an enlisted member. You know what I mean? And more so than they ever will as an officer.
Well, yeah, you learn small unit leadership earlier on as potentially as an NCO or as an E3.
Right.
who then goes into MESEP, or if you get out, get your degree, come back in.
Right.
But it's, well, the second platoon commander that I had was an academy grad, and he was a great guy. He, strived to be that stoic individual, and
Yeah. Right.
now he's a father with, he told me, he's like, I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to have kids. Now he's like a father of 3, and all of this other shit. And I'm just like,
Right.
yes. He was a really good dude. But he also, he was a ring knocker. I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, I mean, sometimes you'll hear a lot of people give shit about people that went to the academies and whatnot, but
yeah,
I mean, they've been around for freaking a few hundred years, just like the services have. So
what I'm trying to say is I had 2 extremes. I had a prior enlisted that wound up going, and then I had a Naval Academy grad. So when I say he was a ring knocker, I mean like the guy made it through the Naval Academy, which you don't have to go to OCS. If you go to the Naval Academy, you just go to TBS. Right. But it's, so it was like I had 2 extremes in the fleet, and then when I came to Quantico, okay, at the basic school, you're broken down into classes of 300, and then you have student platoons, and there are student platoon commanders that are captains who just came out of the fleet, and now they're there, and they're going to lead you through all of these evolutions. Pay the fuck attention to those guys. And women who are leading the platoons, because now you're integrated in this like class of 300. So those 300 lieutenants that came through, I saw 17 of those details, which is like, I don't know, 20,000 lieutenants, which is insane because you get platoons of 50 that are walking past you, and you're like, fuck, man, when are you ever going to see that many officers just gaggle fuck together? And frankly, they don't know anything yet, so they're not high-value targets yet. You know what I mean? That's why it's okay that they congregate. But, yeah, then you see lieutenants from all walks of life who are all in the early phases. And the other thing, too, is if you were ever an instructor in Quantico, specifically at TBS, I would say, at TBS or like Weapons Training Battalion, officers are like, shit, because we saw them at their absolute lowest level, and they know that there's nothing special. They're just learning executive leadership, but they try to create this fictitious barrier. It's awesome.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying.
This is where this is where you are absolutely correct. You got to at least have a sense of humor. So you got to be thick-skinned and do yourself a favor and question everything as you are going through your training, because it all adds up to something. Like you're doing it for a reason.
Correct. And even you getting I'm not saying hazing, but especially at the academies, there's the semblance of just, we're going to treat you like shit because we got treated like shit. And doesn't have to be like that.
Well,
like don't, again, that's what I mean, like sense of humor and have a thick skin, because that's not fucking reality. Sorry. As an 18, 19, 20-year-old, while you're getting upperclassmen or people are giving you shit, at the end of the day, when you get to the fleet or you get to out into service, that's not reality. This is not. But take heed to it, that if you do it, you'll learn something. But don't be an asshole when you get out because of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well,
there's a psychological thing there where you want to do unto others as was done unto you, but I can tell you that it just doesn't matter once you get to your real job. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, it's the analogy of the war.
Yeah.
And I say it like that because I've said this to a lot of lieutenants. Like there's that hip pocket mic time is what I call it. When I stand up and put my campaign cover on, I'm Sergeant Penny. When I take a knee and am spinning my campaign cover on my finger, now I'm hip pocket Mike. Right? You know what I mean? And I tell all the guys and gals that are hanging out eating their MREs on, the side of a berm or whatever, I'm like, look, here's the thing. There's peaks and valleys. The same way in life and everything else, and your training here, they're going to boost your self-esteem like you're the greatest thing ever, and then they're going to pull the rug right out from underneath of you, and you're going to land on your head. And it's just always going to happen. It's the exact same way in life. But here's the thing. Those are your little battles. You're going to win the war. So if you maintain mission focus, and you're like, shit happens. When you graduate, you will get piss fucking wasted because you are top gun in your class and all your buddies need to wet you down. So, like, go forward with the mission. And it's like, oh, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate that. On to the next. Oh, well, we failed. Yeah, I know. Let's learn from this. On to the next.
Right. Yeah, you can't take it too seriously. Like,
right.
You have to, but yet in the back of your mind, there's got to be part of you that says this is just a means to an end.
Right.
And like, that's one of the things that I try to explain, like, what it's like to get through, like, hard times to people.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I mean, or people mean when they say, one step at a time, or 1 minute at a time, or 1 hour at a time. Is you have to have that little part of you in the back that's locked away, that's just saying, it's real. I'm not saying it's not real, but in the end, it's not real.
Right.
It's just a means to an end. So how do special operations guys get through the darkest shit in their training where people quit? I mean, attrition rates of 80%, like in SFAS and, the recon indoctrination and stuff like that. I mean, it's because I had to tell myself that at some point this is going to end.
Right.
So I'm trying to bring this back around to explain it. What I mean for the officer stuff is that you have to keep that. You have to maintain your sanity because it's different. It's different. The OCS path. I guess I'm talking more of the service academy path, that because I've talked to so many guys and gals that have gone through that. And it's kind of sucks,
Right.
Plus
right.
one of my, the best lieutenant I ever had, or the best platoon commander, I should say, was a West Point grad. As funny as that is, he was a West Point grad, but he had a personality and a sense of humor and just kind of went with it. They don't necessarily like that, so you have to kind of lock it away a little bit. But again, keep your focus. Know that this is just a means to an end, and be humble and be as good a freaking follower as you are a leader.
Yeah.
Period. Don't be too cool for school, man. It's those people get in trouble when they start thinking that they know shit. Because trust me, you don't know shit. Even when you know shit, you don't know shit. All right? That's life in general. Yeah, I mean, can I teach somebody how to start a business? Because I've done it, and yes, but I still don't know shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not really.
Nobody does. And you're not in control of a fucking thing.
No.
Right.
Except for what you fucking do.
There you go.
That's it. So I just suggest, my biggest piece of advice is to not be an asshole. And you'll be just fine. Just do what the fuck you're told. Do what you're supposed to do. And don't be an asshole. Even as a lieutenant.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing is, here's the deal. You're going to have like a fucking Taco Bell in your barracks at TBS, and then they're going to tell you you're not special. And while you're wolfing down at Chiquita or whatever the fuck, you're like, I know I'm not special. I'm just eating fucking chow, and then I'm going to go back out into the field or whatever the fuck you're going to do that day. But when you graduate from that, it's a small victory, and you've won the overall war that is TBS. And then you go on IOC if you're going to go in the infantry, or you go wherever the hell you're going to go.
Whatever other
in the
fucking thing. Yeah.
I know that there are other MOSs. I don't pay attention to them. No, I'm just fucking.
That's funny.
But it's.
Yeah,
so when you
basically
get out.
what we're saying is we don't know where all the other fucking schools are at.
No
That's
idea.
all.
I know some of you guys go to like Army stuff.
Yeah, does like do like Marine Corps intel folks go to Huachuca? Do you know?
It depends because counter intel is damn neck.
But that's counter intel, so it's a little different.
Well, that's our snipers.
Right.
Our infantry officer, or not infantry, they're 03, whatever. They're intel officers who become scout sniper platoon commanders if you're TO.
Right.
So that's where you would go to school.
Damn neck.
Yep. That's where DM school is, and that's where DevGru is, and that's their headquarters. Which they're like, we don't care. There's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here. There is
nothing to see here.
Don't bother. If you're like, oh, that hits my cool sensor, I'm gonna tell you right now, whatever. Fucking gun ranges. If you go to the Triangle Shooting Academy right now in Raleigh, you'd probably have the similar experience. It's a fucking gun range. Well, because they don't cluster those guys. Come on, don't be stupid. You know what I mean? And Damn Neck is just this little spit of a base. It's awesome, though, because it's on the shoreline. That's one of the best kept secrets about it. They have these little cabins that are out there. Ooh. If you ever get a chance, if you're retired or if you're
some military right now, some military recreation.
Yes. And it's just south of Law Beach. So it's like you literally just drive straight all the way through. People are like, what are you doing? I'm going to the hotel that's on base, or they have cabins. Yeah. And you can just hang out. And then you can see DevGru. And you can be like, oh.
Wow.
Sweet beard.
That is
sweet beard. And then there's
see, that's the other thing I want people to realize. Like they're all everyone's just people.
Just people. Gotta piss. Gotta put on their pants one leg at a time.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, they might be a badass motherfucker. And the people that train you at OCS are probably badasses. And all the people that you come across, there's some larger than life superhero looking motherfuckers. Right.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're just people.
You gotta sleep.
Okay. They have families. They have kids, possibly. You know what I mean? Everyone is just a person. So don't try to be something that you're not. Just be you. As long as you're not an asshole.
Right.
and just be you. And everything else is easy, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, then
at the end of it, I mean, yeah, it might be hard in the moment, but again, it only lasts as long as it lasts. It's not going to last the rest of your life unless you die. Then that's obviously you're dead. But
you are profound as shit, bro.
I know, but do you understand? But do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. I know you do.
Yeah.
Is that it's like knowing what you only know what you know.
Right.
So if somebody's got something to teach you, it's like I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and they were talking about somebody. They had a run in with somebody who is like some kind of special ops, who was way too cool for school. Didn't want anything to do with him just because he wasn't a ranger or whatever. I think they were rangers. And my saying to that is, dude, you might have been the baddest motherfucking ranger on the planet, but when were you a civilian last?
Right.
You only know what you know. And just because you were a badass military dude doesn't mean you know shit about being a civilian. So
Right.
what I mean by this is the people that are there to teach you stuff, they know shit that you don't know. Allow them to teach you. Your guys in your platoon, even privates, man. Just because they're a private doesn't mean they're a fucking dirtbag. They might not know shit, but I'm pretty sure they know something you don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by they're fucking people just like you. They're not numbers. They're not cattle. They're people. So get to know your fucking people. As a lieutenant, that is one of the biggest faux pas that I see is they don't get to know their guys. They put up this barrier of non-concern and not for, the chain of command. And you know what? Sometimes that's necessary, but you should probably know the people that work for you.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying. Because at the end of the day, it's all a job. This is all a job. Okay? And you're their boss. They work for you. But you need to know them to be an effective leader. Plus, you never know what you can learn, especially from your freaking platoon sergeant or your freaking squad leaders or your team leaders. Just saying. Especially right now, you've got a lot of these guys that have been in the shit and you've been no fucking place.
Right.
So take heed and learn from them, period.
Right. Well, and if you're going to the fleet as an infantry officer, I can tell you the easiest way to do this is you're in the fleet, you build rapport with your platoon sergeant, you understand that motherfucker is in control as far as, like, he maneuvers the platoon, let's say, for instance, and then you've got your squad leaders who you definitely need to know. You need to be having a relationship with your NCOs who are your squad leaders. And I would agree your fire team leaders so that they can tell you who is the junior Marines in your fire team.
Yep.
But the point being is you know your platoon sergeant and you know your squad leaders. That's what I would say. So those four guys,
you fucking know them.
You know them. And then they tell you about the Marines. Right? So you sit down for lunch one day and you say, tell me about your Marines. I just want to know about them because I'm going to meet them later, shake their hands, blah, blah, blah. I just want to know a little bit about them so that I can build a rapport and stuff like that. But so that they know those are the guys, the NCOs are the ones who are in charge of the junior Marines that are there. If you try to lead the entire platoon, you'll fail. Because you can only effectively lead up to 4 people, they say textbook, as an officer, and 3 people in combat as an NCO or enlisted. So, like, try to maintain direction of fire on 3 different fire positions as an NCO, plus give effective fires to yourself and buddy rush. Okay, your head's going to explode.
Yeah.
Which is why we delegate things, right?
Yep. Yes.
And so it's like the best platoon commanders that I had, the NCOs, we weren't privileged by any means. We had already gotten to NCO status. So we all went over to like the O Club or the Staff NCO Club or something like that because our squad leaders in billet, and that's where our platoon commander and platoon sergeant belong. So they've invited us to there so that we could have an executive level PME or some shit like that. Which is basically just building rapport with one another.
Correct.
Rank does not have its privileges. Billet does.
Yeah.
Billet means I get to see more information. It definitely does. And that's a privilege. So it's building, and squad leaders understand that. They've jockeyed for that position, had to do a lot of shit in order to get there.
Right.
It's not like they were just randomly picked. And if they were, you have a breakdown in the leadership on your platoon, and your platoon sergeant might be picking favorites and shit like that, which I have definitely seen before. Where a platoon sergeant, like, oh yeah, those guys, we mixed up the platoons, and then those guys were with me on the last tour, so I just made them squad leaders. Like, wait, what? So there's no meritocracy or anything else like that? You could have like a shit hot squad leader in here, but you just know those guys? Yeah. Well, okay. That's fucked up.
Exactly.
I'm like,
Right.
we're going to need to do some work here. And that's fine. I mean, if you address that and you see that in your own platoon, I mean, obviously, these platoon commanders, you, Tyler, when you are a platoon commander, will be sitting in the company office going, hey, how's your guys? How's your platoon commander? How's your platoon sergeant? How's your squad leaders? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and then discussing that across the board, because your executive leadership, if you raise your weapon in a firefight, everybody else is dead, including Doc, okay? If your gun is pointed at an enemy in a firefight, all of your Marines, including your corpsmen, are all dead, and you are alone grabbing a radio, pointing a gun with one hand, and your other hand is still on the radio, because you belong on the radio. Stay on the radio. How does the radio sound, sir? Stay on the fucking radio, and you'll do really well. You know what I mean? I don't mean that in a bad way. I do not mean that in a bad way.
Nope.
But if an NCO is on the radio relaying shit, now all of a sudden they're questioning whether or not I can fucking do anything. And you have tactical control and tactical responsibility. So if your NCO's on the radio and goes, hey, my platoon commander just got shot in the throat, so now I'm going to tell you we are putting up a tick, and we're going to need fixed wing and rotary wing. Just bring the whole goddamn
shit.
Bring the cavalry,
cavalry
for all I give a shit. Broken arrow. All right? Sound good? Repeat, repeat, repeat. Right on that fire mission.
Yeah.
And just go. And fucking... Diddy bow! That's the scenario. You're dead in that scenario. So,
yeah.
And I've gained tactical control. But you can do more on the radio and fuck around with more shit. You should be calling for fire. You should be calling for air. Your NCOs will fucking love you when you're like, all right, boys, here's what's going on. We've got artillery. We've got 81s. They're all dialed in. I've got known positions out here for days. Okay? We can fuck people up with anything. Like, that's your support plan, sir? I fucking love you. This is fantastic.
Correct, exactly.
Sir, can we blow that Hamlet up? Why? Well, we're actively taking contact from. No problem, bro. And it's like talking on the phone anyhow. Come on, that's sweet.
Yeah, right,
so,
exactly.
If you want to pull the trigger on a motherfucker, don't go be an officer. Go enlist. And
correct.
And I mean, I was the DM. If you want to
be a trigger puller, be a fucking trigger puller. If you don't, then shit. You know, you're in the wrong business.
Right.
If you think you're going to be an officer as a trigger, be a trigger puller as an officer.
Yeah, that shit doesn't happen.
No.
Well, and that's
at least it shouldn't. It shouldn't.
And understand the power that you have, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? Like, the radio is way more powerful than an individual's M4.
Oh, yeah.
Like, sir, especially, can we get a JDAM?
Especially when you got air. You know?
Yes.
You got air support? Shit.
Right.
Fuck out of here.
Dude, I was in Vic 1, so my platoon commander sat literally right behind me. Right. And he would tap my right shoulder and hand me battalion hook when he exited the vehicle. Then I had to call him on PRR if something was happening that I couldn't respond to myself. But he delegated, like, you tell him where the fuck we are, you understand all that shit, right? And I'm like, yes, sir, got it all, yes. He's like, all right, cool. If they call for me, call me on the PRR. Otherwise, leave me the fuck alone. Right? And I'm like, okay.
Right.
So he...
Right. Let me do my fucking job.
Right, exactly. So normally, we would just be like, hey, Vic 2's asking for a show of force. And he goes, okay, justify it. And he rolls over on PRR and he goes, justify a show of force. He's like, yes, sir, we're in this house. We've got blah, 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 whatever to the south. All right, cool. He could call in a show of force. Well, this one time, Shrek was sitting in the back right seat. So he's a FO. He's like, he's not a FAC. He's an air officer who is now doing his ground side tour. And so I get the hook. I'm answering things on battalion. Battalion's asking me where we are. I can tell them that. The platoon commander is out in front of me by about 50 meters or whatever with, you know, a group of dismounts. And so I'm like, hey, Shrek, we're getting asked if we can do a show of force. Shrek's like, yeah, man, no problem. Show of force runs through his lines, right? You know, because he has tactical control. So the guy up top has zero responsibility. It's all on that air officer.
Right.
Dude, that show of force happened within like 20 seconds. No shit. You know, and platoon commander's like, I told you to fucking call me. If anything, what the fuck? Because usually he calls in show of force. He forgot Shrek was in the vehicle.
Right.
So we will fuck with you. Okay,
so
we will
just
fuck
remember
with you.
this too. This is another big one when you talk about stuff like that. As an officer, you can delegate your authority, but not your responsibility.
Yep.
Understand?
I do.
I know you do. So you can delegate your authority, meaning like he gave Penny the radio and said, you know, call me unless, you know, don't call me unless there's something. But if you can take care of it, just take care of it because you have the authority to do so. Right?
Right.
So he's giving you the authority to be his representative, period. Right?
Right.
But he is still responsible for what happens.
Yes.
You cannot delegate your responsibility.
And about 50% of the time I was talking for him because we were communicating inter-squad communication via PRR, which is like a personal radio in the ear.
Right. Too often, not only officers, but bosses in the civilian world try to delegate their responsibility. And you cannot. You just can't.
Right.
And you know what? That also has to do with their bosses holding them accountable. So delegating responsibility, bad, but you can delegate your authority, and that is good. Okay? Especially to trusted individuals.
I can picture, like, delegate, like I'm craning this right now on a blank sheet of paper. I'm whole fisting it in violet. Delegate. Right. And then
make sure that you're fucking delegating.
Circle it in brick.
Delegation is the key, bro. Delegation is the key. You can't do everything. If you do, you'll die. And you'll die trying. You know what I mean? It'll just wear your ass right out. And so delegate. You have people that work for you. You have people that are competent that work for you. Find those, and again, you can't find those people unless you know them.
Well, and you can't find them out in the real world unless you know them. But in the Marine Corps, they're sitting right in front of you. They're handed to you. Correct. And you better not fuck up.
Right. Or they're handed to you. So if they're not the type of person that you think that you can work with or that you can lead, then you better figure out how to do it. So it's not, you know, people don't bend to your will, really. At the end of the day, you've got to work with whoever you're given, whether you hate them or not. Unfortunately, that's something that the military teaches you, is to kind of roll with it a little bit and talk about diverse situations, man.
Yeah.
That's a diverse situation when you're forced to work with people that you just fucking can't stand.
Yep.
But you still have to get the mission done. So guess what? You got to be like Gumby.
Semper Gumby.
Semper Gumby.
Semper
You got to
Gumby.
freaking learn. It's not Burger King. They don't do it your way. Okay? Seriously.
Get the fuck out of here with this shit. You sound like half the platoon sergeants I've met.
I know.
Like, what are you, a black platoon EO or some shit?
That's why I'm fucking putting it out there. I'm just putting it out there in language that everyone understands.
Just bone up on your op order and stop being a Nancy. That's what he's trying to say.
Right. Bone up on your op order. Learn that shit backwards and forwards. And learn how to use a fucking radio.
Better cut that hockey. Yeah, there you go. Stay on the fucking radio, sir. God damn it. And don't ask me about women. I don't know. I don't know where they go after TBA. I have no idea. They go somewhere, though. And I'm not.
They go somewhere.
I just don't know.
Fucking ether.
I don't know where they go.
Yeah.
I didn't see them out in the fleet. I was in war. All right, cool. Thanks for listening to another episode of Cigars and Sea Stories.
Christ.
Hey, folks. We greatly appreciate you tuning in day in and day out, and we greatly appreciate your 5-star reviews, and we're fixing to grow and bring you more as far as our value that we can add to you. So
shit's about to get fucking real.
Shit's about to get real. About to get real. So share with your friends. Stay tuned. Keep the questions coming. Yeah, if you're not already in the know, we have a Cigars and Sea Stories listener group that is out there. We've got, 2.2K in there. I don't know, something like that. But there are thousands of people who are engaged in that, and it's cool. And so thank you very much for being a part. And we're going to be doing a lot more on there. We've been rolling with the relationships and jockeying positions and doing all sorts of cool stuff, and it's fun. And it all hinges on the 5-paragraph order. What? Yeah.
Wait, what?
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 The what?
Yes. 5-paragraph order.
I'm gonna smeack your mouth. Man, that's so dirty. It is. Chug that honey, baby.
Shit.
Ugh. All right.
So my biggest job is to rein your ass in.
Yes.
Just so you know.
Yes.
Teach you how to speak Barney.
Right. Because
understand?
Yes.
Because Mike gets pretty fucking animated when he gets on this fucking SMEAC Met T. All of a sudden he starts speaking fucking crazy.
Yes.
So you gotta rein him in a little bit.
You gotta slay bodies.
Yes. Exactly.
You gotta slay bodies.
So I will be here to translate, everyone.
Yote. Yes, and a huge thank you to Will Amos over at veteranslist.us for everything that you do, bro, because you're awesome. And
for sure.
If you guys want to get a featured membership on veteranslist.us, you can do so at 50% off. That's half off by entering in discount code Cigars and Sea. Thanks to Spartan Media for doing the website. Thanks to Heroes Media Group, which is just awesome. You guys are fantastic. Full service media suite. We do editing with Heroes Media Group. We've got a page with them. A variety of different things are in the works. Adam, stay the course, bro. You were doing good things. So we've got a lot of other people that are working in the background who are going to be coming into the show. Fingers crossed here. We're going to be doing a hell of a lot more work with Charlie Harper over at Whoosh Agency. And you'll hear more about Whoosh Agency and how they can help you guys out also. So we'll be talking to Charlie. Well, yeah, we'll be talking about Charlie's services later on. There you go. So subscribe, rate, and review the podcast time now on iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM. Yeah, just go to Google Play and download a podcast app, and then be like, Mike, Cigars and Sea Stories, and it'll pop up. More than likely. I mean, we gotta, yeah. All right, folks, we love you so much. Thanks. You want to do a war cry? No? Are you good?
I got nothing.
And on that note, we cue the music.